Okay, so you have old iPads, you have various different laptops, you have a Chromebook, and you want dual monitors, triple monitors, quadruple monitors, quintuple monitors, however many monitors you guys want. I'm going to give you some options of what I figured out with these iPads because they had good displays, but now at this point, it's kind of like hardware wise, you can't update them for various different reasons. We're going to kind of talk about that. So let's get into this, and I'll tell you a little bit about this setup, but this is all connected. So let's just pull something across here. I'll pull something that's actually way over here, and I'm just getting around. So a text file here, and this is Windows 10 actually. I'm going to tell you why this, but second monitor, third monitor on the iPad, fourth monitor, and then it is mirrored over there on that ThinkPad. Now I'm going to talk about that, how to get these iPads set up, and what you can kind of do with that. So first and foremost, this right here, the fourth monitor, is actually a fourth generation iPad. Those are 32-bit processors. They're going to basically run, iOS 10.33, I believe is the highest they're going to go. And this becomes an issue because you can't update a lot of the apps. And I had to do a workaround for that. Now, this one right here is actually a fifth generation iPad. And I needed that one ultimately to get the software on this one for what I did. So we're going to kind of talk about that, updating that. And then this is a Chromebook. And so, it's kind of like one of those things. It's got a Celeron processor in it. And then you're kind of thinking, well, I mean, I don't know, maybe I could kind of make it. And I know this is confusing, guys, because you guys are seeing this, you're seeing this tab bar, you're seeing this bar down here, but that's from the Windows machine. That's actually replicating the bar over here. Now, why is this on Windows 10 and not Windows 11? Basically, I had a dual boot with Manjaro. It kept wanting me to update to 11. I don't really like Windows, but I keep a Windows install around because there's various different things that I have to do. One of the AIs that I was using, actually called Coder, was only for Mac OS and Windows, and then just various different things and stuff. So I keep a Windows install around, but I need to redo the dual boot system on that. But I sort of kept it around. It was just kind of there. And the Chromebook, basically, it's just been there. It was given to us, kind of thing. And these are just aged out iPads. But again, like I said, I mean, these, you see it's actually a decent display. These were decent displays. We all know the situation. But when it boils down to it, you can't update the apps, and they've done this planned apps obsolescence thing, which is extremely annoying with the Apple products. More of an Android guy, but we have some of these old iPads. And then this is a ThinkPad that's actually running Ubuntu. And this thing is actually, this thing can crank. This is a decent machine. But I'm kind of go over some different scenarios. So first and foremost, what was I using? And I'm using spacedesk, and I'm using desk screen. Now, you see a wire here. This is actually running to the 5th generation iPad because the version of spacedesk that I was able to use on this iPad was capable of the lightning cable. This is the lightning plug to a USB. It was capable of that, and that's going to be quicker. But we're going to kind of look at some of the latency. All these other machines are going through Wi-Fi. But your quickest thing that's going to reduce latency, like for video, especially if you had this set up and it was playing some kind of video, the latency is going to be a lot less if you're going through that. So ideally it would go through that. Now, I was wanting to do that with the Chromebook, but they only have the software for like Android tablets and iPads, not for Chrome OS. So I had to go through Wi-Fi on that. I had to go through Wi-Fi on the Gen 4 because I was only able to get an older version of spacedesk. So that's the route I had to go. And then the reason I could not use, and this is going to be important because you guys are going to think this.
We're seeing this with ice.
You guys are going to sit there and think, well, I can use desk screen maybe on the 4th gen iPad. The reason I was not able to use desk screen is because you can't update the browsers to be new enough to actually display, you know, like that I'm going to show over here. So, and let's pull something over here just so you guys see that this is replicating over there on those. Like I said, this is a 4-monitor setup essentially, and this one is replicating. And the reason I think that that's a good use case potentially for whatever you want to do, you can do virtual terminals, let's say in Linux, and let's say you're working on something else. Let's just say on this 4 screen, maybe you have AI kind of cranking away and it's trying to write code, and then maybe you're working on something else here and you're just wanting to kind of check up on what's going on your other setup, and you're able to go over to this other terminal and kind of check in on it, something like that. And could you use VNC or some other kind of like implementation? Sure, absolutely. But this is just kind of use case. You can come up with any scenario that you want. You can organize them any way you want. But let's get into how I got the 4th generation iPad that has a 32-bit processor to at least get spacedesk on it. Now, when and let's go ahead and just rotate this, and I'm going to click out of this, and I'm going to show you guys something in the App Store. And this is really annoying. So both of these, the 5th gen and the 4th gen, essentially had the same Apple ID logged into it. And what I had to do is I actually had to first, you know, download the app on the 5th gen so that when you go in here into the App Store, that it would actually pop up here in purchases. If you click on purchases, you'll notice, and I did this to try to update YouTube, which YouTube still didn't work. I use it to update Firefox as far as I could get it. But if you see spacedesk, you could not, if you just search spacedesk and tried to download it and watch, like if I try to update this, it's probably going to tell me, do you want to download the latest compatible version? That's what it's going to say, which I already did that. So I don't know why it's giving me really that option. Usually it's going to look like this, like the way Opera does here. We're just going to have this cloud, and there's going to be a download. And then usually, like, let's see, I'm going to cancel that. Okay, let's hit this and see this error. It's saying application requires iOS 15. And this is like 10.3.3, I believe. And you're not going to be able to get it beyond that. But with this spacedesk, if you downloaded it, let's say on another Apple device, another iPad that was actually generations newer, then you could go into this purchases thing and it would maybe pop up here if you're logged in with the same Apple ID. I know that's weird. They've obviously purposely done that to where you can't update these to the latest version. They want you to get a new one. They've done that with the iPhones. They make the batteries not last, so on and so forth. But that is the workaround to get this thing as far along. And like I said, guys, the display on this is kind of nice. You know, you're sitting there thinking, well, I don't want to just throw this thing away. Like, what can we do with it? So, boom. And then let's go ahead and connect again. And it's back on. And you saw how easy, you just hit the home button and you get out of there. Um, Now, so that'll at least, you're going to have a newer Apple device, or if somebody does have an Apple device and allows you to log in through their iCloud account to try to update the Gen 4 as far as you can get it. And then this could be like a little, let's say you had it like set up and it was a little monitor. And let's go, I'm going to get, pop this video open again. And let's see audio wise, and let's pull it across and see what kind of latency it has on each one of these devices.
And we've been seeing this over the past years with other ecosystems such as base and abstract chain, and pretty much any type of narrative that you want to catch early, you need to be patient and wait for the narrative to play out. Today I'm here with my brother to also learn from his experience of being early to narratives. So Andy, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you back here.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I have this tweet from Well Mocha. You're trying to position yourself early to a narrative that is going to play out in the next months and years, and people are getting impatient. And he says here that to get a really big win,
I mean, certainly could be some latency, but also they're doing
that it's the next big thing. And this sounds easier
a live stream,
because most small things never become the next big thing. On one hand, you need to be patient and wait for the actual thesis or narrative to actually play out before you get this massive payout that people have been expecting on abstract and previously on base, on Solana, and so on and so forth.
And I think many things are happening at the same time. And for example, BNB chain for the past few weeks has been moving like crazy.
Okay, the reason I play that is just I wanted to see how much latency there was going over the network, and obviously this not being connected. Now, if you see this just basically generates a URL, and it's doing HTTP request across there, and then you're basically just displaying that. And you can full screen this. Getting confused. It's so weird when you're doing the Inception thing. So, I mean, you could full screen it and you could have it over there and it could be playing, and all this other setup could be in some other room, or maybe it's just the laptop and it's maybe like one iPad that's the double, and then you've got maybe AI kind of cranking on that, or you got something going on over there and that thing's over there, and maybe you've got to do something over in another operating system, whether it be Mac OS, whether it be Linux, whatever it may be. But this could give you functionality. Not that this particular Chromebook over here is, not anything, spectacular or anything as far as like a monitor is concerned, but maybe you just want to put Discord over there. You just have something up there running. Maybe you have videos just kind of playing to where you kind of just look over at it at the corner of your eye. You're mainly listening, but then you just kind of check it out. As far as that's concerned, I did not have any issues, even being an older Chromebook. This Chromebook was released probably 2017, 2018. And I did not have an issue, downloading spacedesk on that. I didn't have an issue downloading spacedesk on the 5th generation iPad and using the wired connection. You could obviously use wireless. You could just go through the wireless network as well with that one. And the biggest problem was the 4th gen iPad. And then out of spacedesk, I was not able to just kind of manually pop up another instance, and that's why over here I'm running, so everything's originating from over here, and that's why just for this example I was using the desk screen, because originally I was sitting there thinking, well, this keyboard is smaller, the screen is smaller, this is a better kind of laptop, like when you're traveling, personally. T14 ThinkPad, and it's got a lot of power and stuff like that, but keyboard's not big, like I said, screen's not big. And I was kind of thinking, well, if I had the old iPad and I could set that up. Now there's some other implementations that could certainly work with that, and you have a lot of flexibility with virtual terminals and stuff like that in Linux. but for this example, I wanted to conceptually see if I could get that to work. Now, where I'm going to run into a problem, once again, with this 4th generation iPad, I could only get the browsers so far, like Chrome, like 70, whereas the newest versions, I think, is like 141 or something like that. So you can't get to a newer browser to where you're able to sit there and pop it up in the browser, because it's all browser based. So if you want to get out of this, just hit exit. And one more thing that I wanted to show you guys, and this is kind of a Windows thing, but if you hit the Windows key and you hit P, it's going to pop this up, and because it might just duplicate your stuff at first, but if you click on extend right there, like that's selected, that's going to allow you to do more of these configurations. And let's say if you go into display settings, and I've got it actually over on monitor 3. Let me pull it over here. And I know this is kind of wonky, but you have to play with like what monitor it's, what display it's seeing, and it kind of depends on the order that you had it set up, or the ones that you kind of put into place first. But you can kind of mess around with these, and you can mess around with each one of their resolutions. So these iPads, where it kind of gets weird. Now this is the Chromebook. So the Chromebook it's not a full HD display. That's kind of the one downside to that, or I guess one of the downsides. But see, the resolution is pretty good. Pretty decent resolution and stuff with the with the iPads. So let's see, 15. Oh, and actually that one went with a little bit smaller, and that makes sense, because, and you can play with it if you want a bigger resolution, you can. But see, that made that one pretty small. But decent display. Maybe you guys can get used to this. Tell me what kind of implementations you guys did. And again, just kind of being in tech and just being someone who's doing a lot of different stuff. I mean, I tell you, like, I never even, like, a lot of times I don't close out of stuff with this, and a lot of times I don't shut stuff down. But you just kind of see, like, when I'm in these kind of things, like, I've got like a freaking million tabs open, multiple browsers. Like, look at my freaking Opera browser, just tabbed out. And I have another setup and stuff with other, like, actual monitors. But if you're in a situation where you don't have another monitor, or monitor went out, or something stupid happened, and you had to use a Chromebook, or you had to use a tablet, as a second, and repurpose it, or you want to add a third monitor, fourth monitor, so on and so forth, these are some options for you. So hopefully that helps you get the Gen 4 or get the Gen 5 kind of working, something that does kind of work, some kind of implementation. And hopefully that is helpful for you guys. So anyway, leave comments below, what has worked best, and any kind of suggestions and everything with this particular setup. I know it's kind of just a temporary, obviously wacky setup and everything here. I just wanted to show you guys. Follow me on all social media at Brian Phobos, YouTube, Instagram, Steemit, Twitter, Hive, D2, Blur, everywhere. Mainly crypto on there, but gotta do some tech once in a while here. So later.